Extra Time, April 29, 2019. A big show coming up for you, but guys, I may just try to hurt you before this podcast is over. I mean, a little bit of Zlatan flavor for you.
I'm so sick of Zlatan. I want to talk about Anthony Hudson lighting his team on fire. That was savage. That was ridiculous from the Rapids.
Weeby's just too LA over here. Let's talk about the real teams like Montreal and Houston, the teams that are getting it done in MLS.
Free Cristian Roldan.
Yes, keep channeling your inner Bobby Warshaw. Extra Time starts now. From New York, you are listening to Extra Time, driven by Continental from the AT&T MLS studios in Midtown Manhattan. I am Andrew Wiebe with my partners in soccer, Matt Doyle, Dave Goss, Calen Carr. It is the Monday crew, and we have a big change here on Mondays, guys. You ready for this? We've listened to the people. We put the tweets out. We got some feedback.
This is now a Game of Thrones podcast.
Exactly. We are only breaking down Game of Thrones here. Forget about Major League Soccer. It's pop culture. Calen, what can you offer to this conversation?
I mean, I have no idea what... is this show on PBS? What channel can I find the show?
You know what? If you donated to PBS, you would know.
Okay. I have no idea.
Public broadcasting, it deserves to be supported. I just want to say that.
You get a great Dothraki tote bag.
I don't know. I'm like so lost.
But if it's dark and you're carrying your tote bag, definitely don't like run into a dark alley or anywhere where you can't see.
Apparently,
is that a
Weeby's
spoiler?
doing like borderline spoilers.
We're not doing spoilers.
Barely
All right, look.
spoiler.
Actually, what Mondays are going to be about is just the games. We listen to you on Twitter. I've heard it from you in Minnesota, in D.C., wherever I go. You want us to talk about the games, and sometimes you don't love the guests as much as we love the guests.
Oh, speaking of loving the guests, can I just share a little story? I was out in Seattle shooting a movement episode. Stay ready for that. Stay ready for that.
What is it, like 2 minutes in? You got the plug?
But this keeps happening everywhere. I interviewed this guy who's running the sustainability program as far as their carbon neutrality, and he was telling me that he's a diehard ex-ETR guy, follows...
What up?
But he was like, Matt Doyle, how smart is this guy?
It's amazing.
Every city I go, everybody just worships Matt Doyle.
Word,
I
because
got juice.
I went to Red Bull 2 yesterday and someone stopped me and they were like, I didn't realize you were the same guy from ETR. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, it's weird. I listen to that show every week and everyone's so annoying except you. And when you're away, they complain about you drinking Mai Tais on the beach all the time. It's like, what, are they jealous? And I was like, dude, I don't even know. But yeah, probably.
Actually, then he thought you were Matt Doyle. That's the story here. Because we never talk about you going away and drinking Mai Tais on a beach. It's always Matt Doyle who's drinking those on a beach.
I would never drink a Mai Tai.
So we know that Matt Doyle has plants all around Major League Soccer who are talking him up.
Shout out to Kevin in Seattle.
Yeah.
He's
Check it.
listening.
The Movement is a great show. We just haven't gotten any episodes yet.
It's coming. A couple
coming?
weeks.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, be ready.
All right, we are. 25% of the regular season is gone.
Is the movement on PBS?
It should be.
Yes.
It actually should
You
be.
released them all at one time like Beyonce. And I
Boy,
was,
you really
Educational. Yes.
Zlatan-esque, you took this over. It doesn't matter what anybody else
Sorry, man.
does, what they want to do. It's all coming right back to you, Calen.
No apologies.
25. Don't come in my locker room because I'm kicking you right out of there. We'll get to that in a little bit. Nedum Onuoha and Zlatan had more than one moment this weekend, but 25% of the regular season is now gone. Wow. Let's just start here.
Really?
Yeah. It feels weird, huh?
It
was
does
fast.
feel really fast.
It was really fast.
Whoa.
Week 9 winners. No midweek here, just weekend. Who are your Week 9 winners? Can I start?
Go for it.
So I'm asking myself a question here. My Week 9 winner is Omar Browne. Yes. What a story this is. We were watching him.
CCL legend. Do you still have CCL fever?
I do. I will always have CCL fever. It's incurable. We're watching him for Kai against Sporting Kansas City, Toronto FC. We're like, somebody sign this guy. The Montreal Impact, they go out and sign Omar Browne, and what do they get from it? They get a game-winning goal against the Chicago Fire at home. They won 2 straight. They're atop the Eastern Conference. Omar Browne balls out for Kai and CCL, and now he's doing MLS. He's an Impact sub. They win. They got 2 wins this week. Omar Browne is the big winner, in my mind.
Cameron Porter is on my men's league team, by the way.
What?
Yes, here in New York. Yeah. Another Montreal Impact
How's he doing?
legend.
How's he celebrate goals?
Wow, dude.
Bangers.
So basically, stoppage time is your time now.
Yes.
Wow. No one wants to lead against
If and
you.
when he scores and you're on the sideline, not playing for whatever reason, I need you to do the Frank Klopas thrusts. Yes, I need Frank Klopas thrusts from you.
It's actually not safe for work, so Calen's not going to do it
Keep
here.
it above.
Yeah,
Let's keep
that's
it
why we
below
have
the
a
table.
desk.
Yeah.
That's why we have a desk. It's not just Omar Browne though.
No,
it's the Montreal
Impact were the big winners this week. They got 6 points. They went to New England midweek and they killed the Revs 3-0. They got a gift for the first goal, but like that happens if you're a good team. You tend to get more of those than you give up. And then they went home and I thought they were a little heavy-legged. So were the Fire. It was an ugly game. That pitch is not helping out either team, and it was going to come down to somebody making a play or defensively not making a play, which the Fire have made a habit of with their fullbacks this year. But it leaves them atop the table in the Eastern Conference. I think they have 17 points from 10 games. If you look at them since, I think, last June, they spent the last two-thirds of last season playing at a 60-point pace. And they're playing at a 60-point pace just about now, even though they spent two-thirds of their games so far on the road. This is a playoff team.
And without Piatti.
And
this week without Titer.
Yeah.
So for them, everything's perfect. This is their first home game of the season, and now second, right? And now they're gonna roll.
So 15-8-6 since last June 13th. That's kind of the form that you're mentioning. They had 11 losses in 15 games before that. That was the time when Remy Gard was out there basically calling out his young players, saying these guys aren't paying attention. They're not taking care of business. They're not basically.
It was one of the
enough.
worst call-outs I've heard in MLS up until maybe this week.
Anthony Hudson and the Colorado Rapids are coming, by the way. But what's their ceiling, Calen? You bring back Piatti, and if you have a back line that whether you call it a bunker or you just call it organized,
five shutouts in the last 6 games.
That works.
The East is wide open, too. That helps them a lot. The fact that the East is so wide open, I think they can be a top 3 team in the East. If they get Piatti back and they can keep this momentum going, if Remy Gard's turtleneck game can stay as strong as it's been throughout the beginning of the season.
I missed it. Is he going full turtle or mock?
It's like sort of in between. Yeah.
How do you go in between full turtle and mock?
It's like a classic turtle.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was cold up in Montreal. I had some friends text me from the game.
To go on Doyle's point of how well they've played since last June for Montreal, they averaged 2.5 points per game in home games, which is the best in MLS. 8 clean sheets at home over that run. So now they get a ton of home games. At some point, Piatti's going to come back. Titer's probably closer. It sounds like he mistakenly played when he shouldn't have and admitted it and said, I pushed myself a little bit too hard. But yeah, this team right now, if you're a Montreal fan, it's exciting going into the summer.
And what you think is the last year of Nacho Piatti, too. This was
what he says is the last year.
I mean, you never know. Like, contracts come out of nowhere, especially when it's your best player. But a big winner, Montreal Impact, top of the Eastern Conference, Week 9 winner for you, Dave.
Anyone who watched Sporting KC New England, especially anyone who was at Sporting Park for that game, 4-4, 2 red cards for the Revs. That doesn't even include goals called off, potential PKs called and not called off, reviews. It was nuts.
I was watching this
at
my house, and it was myself and Mindy, my fiance, and we had a free night because the parents were out, and I was screaming and jumping up and down, and she was like, "What is wrong with you? Why? This is who cares? Why do you care?"
Young parents.
How often does this happen?
Free night,
more than you would think.
Free Saturday night, and she's watching. She's MLS with you.
Oh, man. She is. I've learned very quickly that I basically hit the personal and MLS jackpot. And I didn't, I bought 1 ticket, and I accidentally bought that ticket, and here I am just gathering, just bringing, all 7 figures my way. Probably more like 300 mil.
Wait, can we use this moment to make the huge announcement?
What?
I think Cam Weeby's making his MLS debut this week.
Oh, that is true. So if you're at the Red Bulls game against LA...
If you see
a young buck in a Red Bulls jersey.
Yeah, a little kid that looks half like Weeby and half nothing like Weeby running around.
That's about right.
Yeah. Probably covering the upper decks by himself.
Way cuter than I am, and he's refused to sit down. Yeah, but look, this game, I think it says a lot about both these teams right now. New England were like, hey, we have Sam Stejko with us. We got to get a result. We're going to have a write-up in The Athletic. We need some positive press. But no, they knew what Kansas City was vulnerable at, which is in behind. Put him in behind. Make them run with you. They can't do it.
Also, Friedel, it seems like doesn't trust any of his players, so he just pulled 2 draft pick kids in and was like, run as fast as you can in a straight line. And it worked out for them. It turned out that once they got ahead, they didn't have a game plan of how to play soccer. So from that point on, it got a lot worse, and they went man down, so that hurts. But Buchanan and Jones get the start, and I think that was purely just no effort on Wednesday, like from anyone. And he just said, these kids are in their first pro year. They're going to work hard for me. I'm going to give them an opportunity.
It was actually injury related is why Tejan Buchanan got on the field. Friedel said afterwards, Delamea was set to start, and they were going to have Bai pushed up to the right wing, but Delamea picked up a concussion, I guess, in training. So then Farrell had to play center back, and then Bai moved to right back, and then that opened the spot for Tajon Buchanan, who, I get what you're saying. His speed, and the speed on the other side, the speed up front, that was why Sporting Kansas City scored 4 goals. Tajon Buchanan's got a little sauce, though. He's got more than straight line speed. Like, this is a kid who I hope he gets on the field a lot for the
But
Reds.
also pulled down, was it Susi on the PK?
Yeah,
For no reason.
Yeah,
Gerso, going
that
away
was
from
bad.
goal, and he didn't even really pull him down. Like, he got a hand on him and then realized what was going. If you're gonna get called, just you gotta get you gotta get it.
Yeah,
You gotta go Shaq if someone comes into lane. just throw him down.
he will go down. I'm not saying he's a diver. I am saying that he understands
that
the
is what
art
you're
of
saying.
embellishment. No, look, that's part of the game. If you feel that contact and he grabbed you, you go down. And he got the call. Tajon Buchanan, I just want to real quickly on that one. The touch he had, and then the turn and the run, the cutback and the cross for Caicedo's second goal, another moment where I was jumping up and down and just like, oh, God, that was special. But, Calen, Sporting Kansas City, well, they are not the team. Or at least
they're not the
don't look
brutal
like the
Sporting
team.
Kansas City teams that you played against.
Well, the issue they're having is with pace and behind, and that's where Buchanan was able to break them down. And I think this is becoming a worrying trend for Sporting Kansas City, because if you look at the games they played in CCL, if you look at the games they played against San Jose, if you look against the game they played against New England, it's all pace and behind. And I keep going back to it at the beginning of the year saying, oh, I wonder who can track down balls in behind. Iko Para, missing him. This is where you start to see his presence, his void being missed, because anything in behind he was able to clear out. Now, if you can make Sporting Kansas City turn, you can create some real problems.
And I think everybody, they gave up 10 goals in 2 games against Monterrey, and it's embarrassing, but everybody was like, okay, it's Monterrey. It's a $90 million team. If you follow that up by giving 8 goals in 2 games to San Jose, and those aren't $90 million teams that they were playing. Like, this is a real Achilles heel for Sporting KC.
I had someone text me, by the way, jump in after this, and say that their grandma could beat Andrea Fontes in a foot race.
Nice.
Knocking out who sent that.
It was your brother.
It was probably
It might have
related
been.
to you, yeah. Which means your grandma could also.
Yeah, there's some logistical issues with some of that, but
Nice. Just the one thing with KC is, yes, they have no speed, but they built a back line that was supposed to be able to play on the ball and play out of the back. But they can't do that when they're behind early, because no one's going to press them.
Right.
So that was the issue here, and I think we're starting to see for KC is if they go behind early, everyone just sits deep, and they can't actually pick teams apart when they're packed in. The point was they'll play through pressure that other people won't play through, and once they break that, then they have opportunities where they feel comfortable. This game showed, and obviously they ended up scoring 4, so they weren't bad offensively, but that's not the way they want to play, and that's, I think, one of the big struggles for them is just the game states of trying to get a game that lines up the way they wanted to, which is what they did against Toluca and in the first half against LAFC to open the season.
Yeah.
the one thing I have with them right now is like we were all
Maybe it's
over.
a check Doyle over
Well, I
here.
thought he put his hand up. He put his hand
No,
up.
I was just.
I'm
I was
very
just leaning.
attuned. I'm extremely
You are.
attuned to any and all.
You have good field vision.
I do.
That's because
I
you're
do.
number 8.
Mm-hmm. I'm not. I need everything in front of me if I'm going to be honest about that one. But Gerso and Johnny Russell, we praised them. So did Peter Vermees, did so on this show, said, look, Gerso's movement, this, that, and the other. And I think they're both extremely good players. They are streaky players. And I think there's part of that we're seeing as well. They were able to individually, especially in Johnny Russell's case, but in Gerso's case, unbalanced teams, trouble back lines, basically do what is being done to them right now, and it's not really happening right now. Part of that might be game states. Christian Nemeth is still getting his goals. I know that they still scored in this game.
Scored like 7 in this game.
Yeah.
So I think game states is part of it. I don't think it has anything to do with the wingers. I really there have been moments where Gerso or Johnny Russell don't come back and help out.
No,
Maybe like they
defensively, I'm
should.
not talking about that at all.
Okay, so I just think they tried to build this beautiful, perfect passing machine, and we saw against Toluca and a couple other games that when everybody's healthy and everybody's fit, it can be that. What they did against Toluca, I think is still absolutely remarkable. And I know Toluca's not great, but still, it's a remarkable performance. But if Beasler's hurt, if Zusi's tired, if Ilie's rested, it doesn't work. You go from 100% effectiveness to 40% effectiveness. Whereas teams who play maybe a more pragmatic style can go from I feel like Bobby here, 92% effectiveness to like 87% effectiveness.
Oh, God,
like,
that does feel like Bobby.
Yeah. Like, it's just such a high ceiling, low floor way of approaching games.
Can we finish it off on
Sure.
this? I would not want to be in the locker room as a defender after Tim Melia saves a penalty kick, saves the second opportunity, and I don't have the ability to clear the ball after that. He turned, and the camera had it on his face, and I was like, someone should cut this camera away because he's about to curse at someone. They caught him for a second, then he turned around, but he was livid after it was Ratubaye. Is that how?
Watubaye.
Watubaye.
Yep.
The clearance attempt on the second goal, which was like, what was that? But then after that goal, I was like, Tim Mealer's about to put his fist through.
Yeah, Guatubaya maybe should have been off in this game, too.
Well,
He had a really terrible tackle.
This game was crazy.
It was. The whole
I
thing
get that
was.
but I think overall, New England's the ones that gonna feel hurt the most by this one, because if you score 4 goals at Sporting Park and you don't come away with more than 1 point, and you had the lead, and they scored 2 late.
They had two goal leads.
Yeah.
Two goal leads.
Actually, and they're down to 9 men, too, by the way. But again, I thought they were going to lose this game.
Once
At
again,
4-2,
because this game lost.
yes.
its mind.
At 4-2, I was like, there's no way that Revs hold on to this.
Yeah.
Baldomero Toledo out here doing his thing. I mean, he had a lot to deal with.
The way KC
But there was a
creating
PK come
chances.
in. They were, it was lucky to get a point, probably.
By the way, I thought all the calls that Baldomero Toledo made in this one were fine.
Johnny Russell's the one I didn't like.
I mean, a little bit, but like his arms out.
Yeah.
It is maybe more ball to hand than anything, but like both coaches were making a bigger deal about the officiating of this one than I thought they
Small
should.
little thing on that was he waved off Gersos and then allowed it, and the way he did it, I think, shifted the way the players felt because he seemed very unsure in that moment. Like he came in and immediately waved it off, and then before going to review, I think was told by his assistant and switched the call. And so I think, yes, I agree with you about the calls, but I think the game insanity was partially because the players thought there was leeway to affect him and make changes.
We're going to break down some calls here. Ted Uncle under the microscope for Cristian Roldan. We'll do that in a second, but I need one final winner from Week 9. It is your turn, Calen.
Oh, thank you. Boniek Garcia. Mi presidente. Congrats to Boniek. 200 appearances with the club. Has been really a part of ushering forward this new era of the Dynamo, going from, the days gone by and those back-to-back MLS Cups to what the team has become now, and welcoming in especially a lot of the Latin players, the Honduran guys, making them feel comfortable. And I'm ready to go out on a limb too, Weeby. This will be my first Baerantee ever on Extra Time Radio. I've been waiting for this moment.
Oh, you have.
Is this a Sansa Stark related one?
I don't know who that is. But I do know the Boniek twins will get more than collectively will get more than 200 appearances. They're going to beat their father's record for the Dynamo.
Whoa!
Wow.
We've been doing Baerantees all wrong.
Yes.
You're like long playing Baerantees.
This is
You're
like a
20
decades
years-
long. We're going to revisit this in 2050.
Yes.
Probably talk about it at his funeral. Halen nailed that one.
Whoa, too soon. Knock on wood.
I'm also their agents. But yeah, no, congrats to Boniek. And the Dynamo are the team, kind of like Montreal in the East. The Dynamo in the West are the team I think people aren't talking about enough. 17 points, just right outside that top 3 zone.
Opposite
Texas.
situation. Opposite situation. Montreal spent the entire season on the road, mostly getting results. The Dynamo have played 2 road games, maybe, and they lost their most recent
They have
one.
2 road games. They have a win and a loss.
They've had a very soft schedule.
Hey, okay, look, 5 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw. Their only loss is on the road in LA. You're correct about that. They do have 2 games in hand, though. So the Dynamo, in my notes here, I had them written down as the quiet powers in the West. Their next 3 games, home against Dallas, at Seattle, home against Portland, home against DC, at Minnesota. So I went from 3 to 5, but I just,
Come back to you on this one,
yeah,
too.
that's the way things go. What would it take, Doyle, to get them into this conversation that we're having here, which is an elite team in Major League Soccer? The results right now are there.
Win a couple of those games. Yeah. Starting this weekend against Dallas, who's a team that I think we all think they're really good. Maybe not elite, but really good. Let's see how you do at Seattle. Hopefully Seattle will be whole by then. If they get through that.
DC?
I mean, yeah, DC is kind of like Seattle, though. It's like, let's see them when they're healthy. But like, I don't think there's any question this is a playoff team. I do think, like, I have trouble saying that what the Dynamo have done is.
Is it just the road games? Because
Yeah.
I'm just trying to digest here.
The
Or is it something
home field advantage in MLS is bigger than in any other league because we have just a greater diversity of climate,
Although
of
for
surfaces.
Houston, it's normally in the summer where a lot of that comes through. Like the weather isn't a factor here as much.
That's fair. That's fair. But like they are going to have to go on the road now in the summer to whether it's altitude in
Right.
well they shredded Colorado in Colorado already, but like to RSL or they're not going to have that coming up. This is the easiest part of their schedule, and credit them for taking care of it. But I'm not going to be a 100% Houston Dynamo believer until I see what happens when the schedule gets
We
tough.
can't get you to 90%. I mean, Juan David Cabezas was the key last year.
Hey,
He's not been here.
I picked them to be a playoff team. I think I picked them top 4 in the West.
Believe, Doyle. Why don't you believe?
No, we're better off. We're better off without you, Doyle. We don't need you.
Can I ask a question on the guy you're talking about, though? Because I don't think you were here for this. Boniek, does he coach? Is he going to?
I think he'll stay involved in the organization. I could see him be a great coach. He's a quiet guy, more of a leader by example. But I think he's able, especially as he's matured, staying involved in the organization would be big. I know Brian Ching's still in the organization. I think the better clubs, if you look around MLS, are holding on to some of their talent. I could see him, but I think he's still got a couple years left in him.
Whoa. You think of 300?
Think he can do LeBron and play with his kids or no? Boniek went signed by Houston. Boniek still playing.
I
Little
would love
double.
that.
Here's a question for you, and I want to do this at some point. We have to like clear out a Thursday or like get the whole crew in here and do one someday. I want to do an MLS draft where you basically have to draft 11. Whole team is available to you. I look at them and I think about Alberth Elise and Mauro Manotas. Where would those guys go in a draft like that? Like how early would you take an Alberth Elise? Where does he stand in the hierarchy of this league's special players?
I'm sorry, I don't fully understand the question. Can you read? You're just saying you get to pick 11 players in MLS.
Yeah, I'm just saying I give you the entire league is available
Got
to
it.
you.
Okay,
You're
cool.
putting together a team.
If we did all MLS teams, like all MLS first 11, second 11, third 11, he's a guy who, if you look at the number of really good wingers in this league, he's probably in contention for the third team and with the talent to be like a second team. Like if he really pops, if he keeps playing like this throughout the rest of the season, then yeah, we're talking about a guy who's one of the 20 or so best players in this league, all positions accounted for, with maybe a ceiling to go a little bit higher than that. But if you compare him to like a Vela or a fully fit Piatti, not at that level.
All right. But we'll see.
I had Manotas as my dark horse MVP candidate coming into this season. So that's
I think he's like a dark horse best 11 candidate.
yeah. I mean, it was a dark horse situation, so I had to pick someone who wasn't going to win it. But hey, if Houston gets first in the West and he scores 20 goals, I'm locked in.
Props to Houston, another win for them against the Crew. We'll talk Crew here in a little bit. They just don't have much going for them on the attacking side. Maybe we'll talk about them right now. If you do winners, then I think you should probably logically also do losers. Is this where we talk about the Rapids? I'm just talking
Yeah, I think
results.
as a collective ETR host group, we can pick one loser. On
You think
this
so?
one for
Yeah,
the
should we
weekend.
just pick the Rapids
Make it a
probably?
times 4.
Well, and I don't really think that's us being harsh, to be honest with you, because when you're the last team in Major League Soccer to
Sounds like they'd pick themselves.
I don't think we're going to be as harsh as Anthony Hudson was.
That's a good point there. They've played 9 games. They have not won any of them. They have lost 7, drawn 2. They've scored 12 goals. Okay, they've been pretty good at that sometimes. They have given up 24, negative 12 goal differential. This weekend, the
That's
Colorado
the most
Rapids.
in the league, right? Most in the league
yeah.
by far.
By far. If you want to watch games with goals, you should watch Rapids games. Now, that wasn't
Unless
exactly
they're
the
playing
case
Atlanta.
this weekend. A 1-0 loss to Atlanta.
That's the weird part about this happening. Let me get.
Go ahead, jump in.
No, you throw. Do you want to throw the quote out there first?
No,
Yeah, no, let's throw the quote
Yeah,
out
let's
there
get to
first.
think so?
Context,
Okay. But I thought the context is the performance.
Okay, so the performance was they went to Atlanta and they gave up a goal in the 75th, roughly, to Gressel. And then they actually had 1 or 2 half chances after that to tie it. But yes, Atlanta hasn't been great, but they went to Atlanta and almost drew or won that game. this being the game that Anthony Hudson decides afterwards, I have to say something.
I've got to
Also,
annihilate
also
my
this being the game,
players.
by the way, and he's going to talk about DPs. Like Pity Martinez gets taken out of this game and he's kicking the back of chairs and he's got 0 goals, 0 assists in Major League Soccer.
Yeah.
Like Joseph Martinez didn't score in this game.
Like Anthony Hudson.
Ezekiel Barco didn't score. Like, here are the quotes. Quote, "We are fighting at the bottom with the bottom group of players.
Ouch.
And we have to find a way to pick up results while also being a team that tries to play a certain way. And we just have to find that balance." And then he goes on, another quote he had, basically talking about how people around the place and the media, I assume that's probably us,
Specifically.
and other people as well, obviously, like to see us at the same level as Atlanta or on the same level as Orlando or DC. Don't think that's true. But the reality is, I think every game we played in, it's been the DPs, big money players up front that are making the difference. Every game that we've played in, people think we have those players, and we don't. Today was just another example of the real golfing clash.
Class.
Yeah, whoops.
I think every single game we're playing against teams and their DPs are making a difference. People think we are on the same level. We're not.
Okay, and so to be fair, Shakel Zangashi is one of their DPs. Shakel Zangashi, I don't even think he's even with the team anymore. Like,
No, they bought him out.
yeah, he like goodbye. You're not contributing
They're
anything
paying him
anymore.
money to not be a part of their
Right.
team.
Tim Howard is a goalkeeper. He is.
Better life.
Yeah, that sounds great. Sounds great. Tim Howard is a DP. He plays in goal. They went out and signed Joe Mason. They went out and signed Yannick Boley. Was Yannick Boley? He was
So,
TAM.
yeah.
And he's gone.
He,
They have 2 TAM center backs.
he's not wrong. There is a gulf in class with this team compared to a lot of the best teams in the league. But they've spent a lot of money. And as Andrew said, 12 goals in 9 games, that's not bad. The gulf in class so far hasn't been what's happening up front. If you score 12 goals in 9 games, you should have a win or 2. The gulf has been at the back. And I don't think anybody has spent more on their defense and goalkeeper over the last couple of years, 3 years even, than the Colorado Rapids. Tim Howard is a DP.
Since they were the best defense in the league.
Since they were the best defense in the league in
2016.
2016. Tim Howard is a DP goalkeeper, is the most expensive goalkeeper in the league, I believe. Tommy Smith, who's an Anthony Hudson guy, and Danny Wilson, who I believe is an Anthony Hudson guy, are both TAM-level defenders. They had Axel Schuberry, who, say what you want about him, he was a former best 11 defender on that team. They got Jack Price, who was supposed to be a defensive midfielder. He does not defend.
Keegan
Rosenberry,
Rosenberry, they went out and
they went
spent
out,
some
and yeah,
allocation money on.
they said this year, okay, we're going to go out and we're going to get more MLS-proven guys, and they brought in Keegan Rosenberry and Kofi Opare, and I think both those players are pretty decent, and it has made no difference. In fact, the whole thing has just gotten worse and worse and worse over the last 3 years. I don't understand why he annihilated his team like this. I don't think it was fair to the players. I got to imagine that's a pretty tough locker room to go into today.
Well, I think about driving to work, and you just drive into work, and you're just thinking like, man, this is going to be tough. And I think the only thing I can think of as why he would do this is a message to somebody above and say, maybe he's been brokering for a certain player, a summer signing, and trying to get that DP player to come in. But the hard part is he's got a group of players in the locker room right now. And as a manager, you have to be able to walk in and tell the guys, I believe in you. You have to do this every day at training. You have to get them to go out next week and play a match. And if you say there's a gulf in class, as a player, that's not my performance. I didn't make a tactical breakdown. We're not getting behind the ball in the right way or losing assignments on set pieces, lack of concentration. That's just quality on the team, period, which comes at the players. So that's the part where I think he has a really tricky week ahead of him, because he needs to be able to keep that locker room or maybe even win back some of it. And then also, I understand maybe he's trying to make a point to someone else. But when you talk one way, you got to look back over your shoulder at the same time.
The golf and class part, that's painful. But a bottom group of players, I know that we're parsing words here, but like as a person, I can't read or hear that quote without shrinking a little bit and just being like, it really is hurtful.
Also, you go into this game they've conceded 24 goals. They only gave up 1 on the road. You started a 16-year-old at right wing back in Sebastian Anderson making his pro debut.
And an 18-year-old at left wing back.
In Sam Vines. And you walk out of that game and you say, we were a young team, we made a few mistakes, but it's clearly getting better. That's your comments. Now, you made a good point, which is those comments could be for someone above him, or they could be for the future, which is creating a narrative now, as a lot of coaches do when it seems like maybe they won't be the 2020 coach for that current team or something like that, and creating a narrative of this is what happened. And that's what this sort of felt like was, I'm putting these in the media now, and I'm putting the story around this team as this, so that when I'm interviewing for this job or when I'm coaching this team and say, well, when you look back, we just didn't have the group that
Remember, this is a long-term project. Remember?
Oh, no. He did say that, too.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, not even this year. I mean, it is conspicuous that there's no at the bottom with a bottom group of players. But, like, ultimately, I mean, Anthony Hudson knew the situation he was walking into. Like, Shaquille Zangashi was on those books. Like, it wasn't a mystery. Pablo Mastroeni, and I don't want to like glorify what they did in 2016, but you might as well, because I know it's a different age of MLS, but you recognize strengths and weaknesses and you play to them. I know that they want to play and play pretty and all that and the other, but like at some point.
Well, what they did in 2016 wasn't sustainable at the level that it happened.
I get that.
I'm agreeing with you, but they didn't have a proper plan of how to take strengths from that team and add to it.
But they did. But it is right in the sense that the one time they did go out and splash some cash and make a couple signings was the year they almost made MLS Cup. So it didn't last. It didn't have the longevity because you went for experienced players with Jermaine Jones. You went with Tim Howard.
Jermaine Jones only played 9 games that year.
Yeah.
Jermaine Jones only played 9 games that year. Tim Howard came in mid-season. They actually had a worse record with Tim Howard in goal than they did with Zach McMath. So, like, they splashed some cash. They splashed a lot of cash before last season. Joe Mason, Yannick Boley, the kid Boateng, who barely plays.
Yeah.
Both those
Bismarck
big center
Boateng.
backs from
Blumberg.
Yeah,
Blumberg.
I think he was a TAM signing.
Like
too.
this,
that's
there has been spending on this team,
and that's where the class conversation is incorrect in Major League Soccer, because LAFC and Atlanta United sit in one place, but there is clear, proven examples of how to win in Major League Soccer.
we were just
without
talking
being
about the Houston Dynamo.
Exactly. The Montreal Impact.
And the Montreal Impact.
Didn't have
and
Piatti.
Sporting KC. 3 teams that don't have Piatti, but don't have high-spending DPs. There are many ways to win in Major League Soccer, and if your idea when you pick up a job on a team is, well, we're just going to go out and get Wayne Rooney and Nani, which is why I thought it was interesting he said Orlando, because I wouldn't have put them in that convo, but they did just sign a former Man U player. If that's your idea of how to win in Major League Soccer, then you're going to lose.
It's not good times. I think it's pretty undoubted that they are right now the losers. We're talking about that game, so we might as well talk about Atlanta United's body language. No Bobby Warshaw here, which is a real bummer because he is a savant when it comes to this sort of thing. Maybe because he's sometimes an example of bad body language. Just saying, Bobby. Sometimes.
I hadn't noticed.
Pity Martinez was removed from this game. He went to the bench. He kicked the back of Breck Shea's nice racing chair. Good thing that has very good neck support.
I sat in one of those, yeah.
Yeah,
those are pretty
anything
nice.
from behind, that'll protect you, fortunately. And then he yapped at Frank de Boer, or seemed to be yelling at Frank de Boer throughout. Mm-hmm. Atlanta United got their first win at home, but in typical 2019 Atlanta United form, it cannot be all positive. So help me understand here what the vibe should be for Atlanta, what Frank de Boer should take from this, what we should take from this match, this result.
I would think Pity Martinez, I don't know if that was only directed at the coach. I think in some ways that was probably himself because he, as a player, his expectations for himself, I'm sure, are high, and the expectations around this signing were big. He was supposed to be an essentially kind of a like for Almiron. Almiron leaves, and he's supposed to be the next big thing to come in.
An MVP candidate.
Yes. 0 goals, 0 assists. That's frustration coming out. And he's been pushing. He's been trying to get fit. He hasn't been able to be effective on the field, and he's not the same player. He's not the same player as Almiron. He's a very different type of player altogether. And the team in general changed. Manager changed, Tata Martino, just different vibe around the team. The body language has been different from day one, from the beginning. And I hate to say it, but I think these are the type of wins that you're going to see from Atlanta United. It's going to be tighter games. It's not going to be any of, or as many at least, of those runaway freight train, just trucking teams, especially against a team that sat back and just parked 2 buses in front of them. It looked a little bit more methodical, at times mechanical, not a lot of ideas. The one moment of magic came from sort of a deviance from the script where Nagby
I was about to
said,
say,
hey,
like,
let's go for
how
it.
many times have you seen, like, that goal is Nagby getting into, like, taking out a defender and getting into the box and making something happen?
The whole game.
How many
You're
times?
yelling for all of that.
How many, like, you don't see that from Atlanta United at all. Like, the ball, they never drive the ball out of midfield. They never make a back line turn around and run at their own goal.
They never attack opposing team before the other team sets themselves.
Yeah.
And every time they break a line or they move into a dangerous space, they take 3 touches and they reset play. And I don't know what is going on. It was the only time Nagby got in the box. Did they interchange once on the top of the box? Like, what is the ideas of what to do? And if it's just get it wide and playing crosses, then why isn't PT playing out wide? Because he served one in right on Joseph's head that should have been a goal, which I think was part of his frustration to that. Was he should have had an assist on that one. And he's clearly good at it, and he's not doing anything in the middle. Push him out wide and get him comfortable and get him some confidence and start to change for him this experience, because you're just losing him in the middle. And the team has no concept of how to play off him there, so no one's better off for it. And the second that Villalba comes in, it changes because Villalba works hard and tries to beat guys, but also you had clear ideas of this guy's comfortable in this position, and he's pushing that back line, and now Escobar finds space. And Escobar wasting that space as well, which is also the theme of this team. It's really frustrating to watch. I'm not a fan of Atlanta United. I can only imagine right now.
I'm a fan of how they played the last 2 years. They were one of the most entertaining teams in MLS history. And in 2019, they are not.
But Minnesota are. They didn't really show it over the last week, but hey, 2 shutouts. 2 shutouts at home for the Loons, man. I know you got to sing Wonderwall, and that was awesome. And Calen's never heard of Oasis, just as he's never heard of Game of Thrones, so it just landed on deaf ears with him.
Big pop culture guy over here.
Yeah, 1-0. 1-0. DC United come to town. I thought DC would be an issue for them because I thought they'd play between the lines a little bit and pull them out, and they've been so gappy. Well, Adrian Heath solved a little bit of that by not putting Francisco Calvo in the squad. That helped, by the way. It helped.
Having Miller and Kalman has been better than Boxall and Calvo for sure.
We also went with 3 D mids.
Yep.
In this one.
Yeah.
That helps as well.
That will help. So
sometimes.
Yeah. Wonderwall. They did it. It was goosebump inducing. It was awesome. But I still say the bigger indication is the 2 shutouts.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Angel Rodriguez is finally showing that he's got something. That's really good. Darwin Quintero leaves with an injury and you still win. That's also good. I have questions outside of Miguel Ibarra on the wings. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure all the time that Ethan Finley has it if he can't get him to open space like they did against NYCFC. Abu Dunladi, sorry, Dave. I like his talent. I don't like the
he's not a winger.
If you want me to
Romario
get on
Barra
the Abu Dunladi, I would just say in terms of the attack for Minnesota, I don't think there's a clear idea of how it all fits together. You mentioned Rodriguez being good. He's really good at posting up center backs, holding them off, but he can't turn and score off that, and no one runs off him as an opportunity.
I think it's more the second thing.
Yeah.
Like he's had some nice turns, and he forced a good save out of Bill Hamid yesterday, I believe, off a nice turn. Like, he's a handful. He manhandled Aaron Long and Tim Parker, at the start of the month. He has been doing this to guys for 5 games now, and like, I'm changing my tune on him because he's showing that he can actually do that. But yeah, there's not, like, we all thought it would be him and Darwin Quintero interchanging. They seem better when it's one or the other. Like, Darwin Quintero clearly at this point plays better when it's Romario Ibarra as the center forward and not Angelo Rodriguez. And Angelo Rodriguez, he doesn't need Darwin Quintero because the plan when Angelo's up there is just like punt it at his head. Just punt it at his head. He's going to win more than his fair share of those duels. And then we could all sort of advance and throw in a couple of crosses.
And Quintero wants to play it into space, so Ibarra stretches the line, which creates openings, and then he takes advantage. Yep. So that's the part that's still awkward for Minnesota is, okay, you went out and got Angelo Rodriguez. These are the skill sets you were looking for, but how are you using them as a team? And they still haven't shown that. And if the idea is, well, he does that well and can kind of run into the channel and can kind of finish off these opportunities, then you probably didn't want to go out and get that guy because you're not using his best assets. And he's a DP player on your team. And you got one goal on this one, but it wasn't really through a flow of play.
I mean, is Roman Metner hitting in a nice cross to the near post?
Boom.
He does that a lot.
He does that a lot. I don't think that Angelo Rodriguez touched this ball.
Neither do I.
Am I wrong about that?
No, I've been arguing with Doyle yesterday about
honestly,
this.
I can't believe you're betraying the camaraderie of a fellow forward.
Yeah, well, if you celebrate, you go to the corner no matter
for
what.
Sure. Obviously.
You just go
And
to the
if
corner.
it is a touch, it is the feather soft, just lightest of
that's what DP strikers do.
grazes.
Yeah.
To put this ball on the back of the net. Adrian Heath says Roman Metner is the best right back in MLS. That game in Minnesota, the 3-3, he was one of the only players that I walked away from that saying, like, this dude's got juice. Like, he's physical. He doesn't stop running. He is in the final third dangerous, puts in a good ball from a lot of different angles. That's what impressed me so much is it wasn't like, okay, hey, ball gets played back. I have an early cross opportunity. Nobody's pressuring me. Go. It was on the run, different styles of crosses. So he says he's the best.
What would you classify? What position is right back? Like, where does it go on the field?
I mean,
midfield or forward?
Anywhere on the right flank, I guess.
Okay, because I was going to say, if he's a defender, all the things you just described, none of them are defending.
I think he's actually better at defending than my like gushing over his crossing gives credit.
No, but the most of what he does great is going forward, which is awesome. And I think if you use it the right way for this team, which could be cool when Molino gets back, it could fit really well. And like he gives you width on that side, and Molino can float in and try and find the game. But
better right backs than Roman Metner. Do we have a list? Have we accumulated said list?
It's not a super strong list right now.
I mean, there's some like
Kelvin
Leerdam's in the discussion. I think Metner's in this discussion, but it's Leerdam, it's Harrison Awful, Anton Tinnerholm. I honestly think Reggie Cannon is there. He was really good last year. He's even better this year.
Is Nick Lima still a right back?
Hasn't been.
I mean, in theory.
Tommy Thompson's
But he's also not starting.
He's doing it for the U.S., so we're going to count it.
But those are the names. That
Leonardo Hara. Yeah. But
Awful's out hurt.
Hara's been hurt.
And Lima doesn't start. So, it's not.
No, it's not an outrageous claim at all.
Yeah, it's not. No, I think it's been a good signing. Yeah. It's been a really good signing for them. DC, meanwhile, really stinks that Donovan Pines had his goal, his first in Major League Soccer, called back.
I thought it was the right call.
I thought it was too. Briant reaches out. I know it's slight, but like it's a foul. You can't do that. Just keep your arm down and it's a goal because that ball's like 5 feet above anywhere.
Yeah, he was going to get it anyway.
Going to get it. Yeah, like that's like an alley.
By the way, we talk from time to time like favorites in MLS dunk contest during All-Star weekend. If we had like
Pines and Birnbaum together, there's no center back pairing better than that.
Be jumping over.
I actually think you just have Pines be like the shot blocker, and like everybody else has got to try to dunk it on him. If you can get it over Donovan Pines, then props to you.
He got up there.
He did. But the bigger issue for DC, I think personally, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is LuchoRoo. It's not the same LuchoRoo, man.
It's not as exciting when you say your little nickname.
I know. When they're not like scoring goals and making the rest of the league look silly and like winning tackles in the final seconds and hitting 55-yard crosses for game winners. LuchoRoo has lost its luster.
Don't say that, Weeby. Don't lose hope, man.
I don't want that to be the case. But
Doyle had that one. You pulled out that one clip of that pass from Costa to Rooney where he brought it down yesterday. And,
which was sick. But like that was the only pass that one completed to the other on the day.
Yeah,
teams have film, right? They have really sold out to try to sort of sever that connection that was so good down the stretch last year. I think on top of that, Lucas Rodriguez has been pretty good, but not great. He's just settling in. They've had a ton of injuries, so like they're playing kind of a 3-4-1. And this is their sixth game in 21 days, a stretch that also included one of the games was at Colorado, and that's an altitude game, and we know that tends to take it out of teams, especially during a busy part of schedule. I think DC is going to be fine. I don't know if Lucho Acosta is going to be fine. His body language is terrible. We saw it on the field yesterday, him and Paul Arriola getting at it, and production-wise, he's gone back to what he was the first half of last year when DC were shopping him. I think that the people in DC, the decision makers, are thinking very hard about what they need to do in the next couple of months with regard to Lucho Acosta, either long-term or on the transfer market.
Can I say something crazy here? And then you guys can all yell at me and we'll move on.
I was about to cut you off, and now I'm so glad that I didn't.
We've talked about them bringing in like more attacking pieces. If they lose Lucho Acosta, if they get rid of him, I wonder if there's not an idea of bringing in a center forward with DP money, not an attacking mid, and sliding Rooney back.
I would hope not. I don't think Rooney's a midfielder at this point. I don't think he's ever really been a midfielder.
I don't think he has to be. He's got to. He'll have two.
Let me just say
game.
this: Juan Mata's out of contract.
Wow.
That was a wink from him, by the way, if you're not watching on YouTube right now. I really want to see LuchoRoo back to that point. I really have to play this quote from Nedum Onuoha because he and Zlatan basically had a WWE wrestling match for a lot of this game, and apparently there was a lot of talk as well straight out of WWE. Let's hear what Nedum had to say.
Because, from 60 minutes in, he's saying to me, he's going to do me, he's going to hurt me for that game. And this is a guy who's the face of the MLS, as he calls himself, but this is the way that he plays on the field. So I don't care if someone comes in and tries to say that to me. You don't say that on the field. I don't care. I'm not going to accept his apology. It's unacceptable.
So Nedum said that Zlatan was basically saying, I'm going to hurt you, I'm going to do you from like the 60th minute on. And there was a moment when Zlatan kind of like, to go back to the wrestling analogy, kind of like headlocked him and threw him down a little bit. And then after this match, if you weren't watching on YouTube, we had the clip right there. Thanks to our friends in Utah. Zlatan made his way into the locker room to, I presume, to apologize to Nedum.
Rubbin's racing.
Or talk a little bit more.
Or maybe talk a little more trash. Maybe that's why I got pushed out of there. Zlatan scored the game winner in this one, so LA Galaxy won 2-1. And afterwards, Zlatan said he wasn't going to talk about that stuff. It stays on the field. He also said, I like to feel alive, and, quote, when I get angry, I feel good. This was a pure Zlatan game. What do you think of this as a player, Calen? Both the on-field jawing. Let's take Nedum's word for it that this is what Zlatan is saying.
Sure.
And then also the trip to the locker room.
Sure.
There's a lot to break down there.
Well, I was a little surprised. I mean, usually it's not the striker telling the center back he's going to hurt them.
That's true. It's a reversal of roles.
But most strikers don't look like Zlatan.
Yeah, exactly. But to the point of Nedum saying that this guy's supposed to be the face of the league, I don't really buy into that. Like he didn't sign. Zlatan is himself, and he is one way, and he admitted it himself. He plays better angry. And so he's looking for these moments to be able to try and, rile himself up and get after it. And the problem is if you engage with him, it usually doesn't end well for you.
You poke the bear.
That's why you go the Jim Curtin route, and you're just like, I'm not going to say anything.
And so it's an impossible thing because
guys, stop. Onuoha is in the right, and he handled this well, and I love it.
Sure, yeah. I don't think he has to accept his apology at all, but I also don't think it's totally out of the ordinary that a player would say something like that on the field or that's out of bounds. If I had $1 for every time somebody said they were going to
you wouldn't be sitting right there.
kick I would be chilling at home right now. But
on the beach drinking Mai Tais.
No, I mean, I've had players tell me they're going to kick my head off my neck. Like, if I duck down again for a ball. Or break my legs. Like, that happens all the time. That mental game between players happens. So it was real between them, but I think Zlatan clearly got the best of him. I don't blame Nedum at all for not accepting his apology. I never accepted anybody.
Yeah, man.
Nobody even tried to come up to me, but
if they done so, I would not have accepted it. Get to stepping.
Yeah, and luckily I kept my head.
I didn't see the headlock incident.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Oh, you didn't? It wasn't like a headlock. It was more like he kind of grabbed him behind the head and kind of just like tossed him down.
It was more taekwondo.
Yeah, there was actually a little bit of like grappling aspect to that. Like,
is that not a red card?
Is entering an opposing locker room not off limits?
Yeah, we didn't look at that one for instant replay. Perhaps we should have. It looked to me like
it wasn't.
It looked to me like a
yellow.
clear. It looked to me like a clear yellow.
Okay.
But it didn't look to me. It was like back of the neck, kind of shoulder, maybe.
So it wasn't hands to the face.
No. Which we should probably talk about now.
Calen is ready for it.
Are you
ready?
Calen
is going to throw hands.
I am
with
fired
anyone
up
who
right
thinks
now.
Well,
this is actually a red card.
if he does throw hands, he will be red carded. I'd like to put that out there.
He doesn't. He doesn't like that, David.
Unless
I do have
Calen.
one career red card. It was an accidental kick to the face.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Chris Leach. I was trying to bring a ball down.
Whoa, Chris
Still
Leach.
feel bad about it. I
Yeah.
apologize every time I see him.
One thing, Calen, would it be non-negligible force
Ooh,
How well do you punch or throw hands?
not well. I wore a helmet though,
So maybe not negligible force. We're talking about this because Seattle 1-1 draw with LAFC in the rematch. This is at Century Field in Seattle. LAFC, we're down a goal. Jordan Morris comes out, gets a goal real quick. Then Carlos Vela gets a goal, and that's the way it works. But then in the 17th minute, Carlos Vela was, I think, unhappy with Cristian Roldan for what looked like a pretty innocuous tackle, like pretty straightforward, strong tackle, gets the ball, puts it out of play. Looked like Marc-Anthony Kaye comes to bat for his boy, grabs Roldan from the back, just like grabs him in the shoulder. Then, Roldan does what I think most people would do in that situation, which is spin around and get him off him. And then pushing and shoving starts, and Edward Atuesta rolls in and throws a push from the blind side, I want to say.
Yeah, blind side is left side if you're a righty.
Yep. And
I saw that movie with Sandra Bullock.
Port side if you're on a boat.
Yeah. Port side? Yeah, you've been on a boat. Hey.
Whoa, look at upper class over here.
Whoa.
Ferry. It was a ferry.
Spent a lot of time on Mercer Island, huh?
Taylor
Juan
needs
Island,
to work in a canoe.
Shout out to John Betton. So look,
More like Catalina
Roldan starts
here.
pushing. He tries to push back. It kind of looks like it slips off. Maybe I'm giving him too much credit there. His hand comes out, left hand, hits Atuesta in the face. Atuesta goes down. He was rolling around. Like he milked it a little bit. I don't know if it hurt. It might have really hurt him. Didn't look like it did. And Ted Uncle consults with his folks, pulls out the red card. Cristian Roldan says afterwards, this is not deliberate. I did not mean to do that. Didn't see it coming. Got pushed. I agree with him. I don't think this should be a red card. I get that if you think it is deliberate, that it should be by the laws of the game. I just don't think it was. Common sense, game management, yellow cards for everybody. Call it good. Changes the game 17 minutes in. Anybody disagree?
No.
No? Nobody
Disagree
on that
with
side
what?
disagreed.
Should have been a red card.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was a red card.
That's what we're saying. You agree with that.
Yeah.
So all four of us think it should not have been a red
No,
card.
I think it should have been a red card.
Really?
Yeah, hands to the face. Like we've seen, like
But
all
was it
all
deliberate? Do you care?
all players, all coaches, all I've heard them say my entire freaking life is all we want is consistency.
That's how players sound too?
Yes.
Wow.
All we want is consistency. Like this is the one rule in MLS that is consistent in not just MLS. This is in world soccer. If there's a scrum and you put your hand in a dude's face, even if you're having fun, like Kaká and Aurelien Collin a couple of years ago, you remember that?
Yeah.
That was ridiculous.
They were having fun there. They
were like joking around, and like Kaká did peekaboo, and he got a red card for that. This is
But
the one.
we say when that happened that it was ridiculous?
Yes, but it's consistent.
That's
This is what coaches and players say. We just want consistency. You want to know how the game's going to be called? The game is going to be called where this is a red card. This is a red card. It's not going to be overturned.
No, I agree with that.
He got
that.
He got his hand up in Atuesta's face. I think Cristian Roldan is awesome. He's a great interview on this show. I root for him. He then said, I didn't even see him. It's like, come on. You absolutely saw him. You got pushed. You had a reaction. It was to put your hand in his face. It's a red card.
I love that this started with Doyle being like, Kalen's going to throw hands, and next thing you know, his hand's all up in Weeby's face.
I was wishing that we had a different camera angle.
I'm off the show now. Later,
You
guys.
see how I didn't flinch? Just not even a little bit.
Wow.
I'm just,
Yeah, you're a thug. Can I do a PSA though? It is. I am as a PSA. If you're at Atuesta, if you're gonna go in there and be the tough guy to push somebody, don't go down immediately afterwards when somebody sort of wipes the snot off your nose a little bit. I mean, I can speak for this because I wouldn't go into those situations. If I had the video, I would pull up the video. But anytime I saw things really popping off, for the most part, I was hanging out, just watching.
you're like, hey, this is a good opportunity to go get a drink of water.
Eddie Robinson, you got this one? All right,
CJ
cool.
Brown, handle that business. Zach Thornton, where you at,
You don't
bro?
have to go in there. You can just stay out of the whole thing to begin with. But if you're going to go in, don't go in and then go down at the slightest of contact.
It didn't work for LAFC, though. They didn't win the game.
I'm okay, by the way, with 95% of what you said, except
actually
the
think I am
one
too.
part, which was his reaction was to put his hands in his face. I don't think that that's what Roldan did. I think Roldan was pushing everyone away, and he's like 5'1", so when he pushes everyone away, he puts his
he's
hands
not
higher.
5'1". He's, let's not make this a side.
He was the
thing.
shortest guy in that group, and his hand went up. I don't think he purposely...
But that's why I think the reaction matters. It was the reaction.
Without the reaction, there's no red card here. I
Yeah,
don't think.
with the reaction is what makes the referee see, oh, I saw a hand go by the face, the reaction happens, and that's where the red card comes out.
I think he's pushing and he gets hit right as he's pushing K, and his hand just kind of comes up as he's off balance.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with you, Doyle. I think there is an element of consistency here. That's where I just get frustrated by the laws of the game because I look at them every single week and I'm like, half the time these don't make sense. So at some point I put on my Bobby Warshaw hat and I'm just like, common sense prevails. Like, don't do it. And I don't know. I wanted more from this game. I wanted a little bit more from it, and we didn't get it. Some other shout-outs. Jeremy Ebobisse with the game winner for Portland in Toronto. It's a good goal for him. It seems either love him or you don't rate him at all, and there's no real in-between. But
I understand the people who don't rate him.
Almost halfway to double digits.
Yeah?
He's going to get double digits this year.
I mean, he's got 4 goals and 7 starts.
That was such a weird way to say he has 4 goals.
Right.
Almost halfway to double digits.
Almost
halfway to halfway.
Yeah, hey, Taylor can do my PR.
So he's got 4 goals in 7 starts this year, all on the road, right? So he's averaging better than a goal every other game on the road. Only 3 center forwards did that last year in MLS. Joseph Martinez, Bradley Wright-Phillips, and Mauro Manotas. Ebobisse doing this.
Not in that conversation, though. Come on. He's not in that conversation.
Manotas wasn't in that conversation a year ago either. He was a talented young guy who was, we thought could be pretty good. And then he turned out to be better than pretty good. So he's averaging 0.6 goals per 90.
Oh, by the way, can we just say that I just thought of that Mauro Manotas finish this weekend.
Yeah.
Like trailing leg behind. What?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Pretty awesome.
Oh, that was great.
But like Ebobisse, if you look at his numbers per 90, if you prorate it for an entire season, this is a guy who's going to end up with like 15 to 20 goals if he continues to play. And it's a question with because like you get the impression that Gio Savarese doesn't particularly rate him, but he's winning the job. They have 2 wins. He has 2 game-winning goals, and you see him getting better as well. This was the big thing about this goal. Last week against the Crew, it was a similar type of scenario where it was across from the left-hand side that he actually found the spot between the lines to get the one-time finish with his left foot. This time, because a little more time on the field, a little more simpatico with Sebastian Blanco, he picks up his head, makes eye contact, and then realizes the run isn't going to be between the lines. It's actually going to be between the left back and the left center back, and he gets there for a diving header on an inch-perfect cross. This is a lead the line starting center forward at age 22.
Brian Fernandez, if he does sign with Portland, is more of a goal-scoring winger, could complement Jeremy Ebobisse in this sense and maybe take away some of the funds that they've been talking about for the, quote, number 9 position. If you have not seen Brian Fernandez this weekend for Necaxa, he went crazy after a red card against Monterrey. He was spitting at fans. Yeah. He was throwing cups at fans. That might have been
our guy Hercules Gomez tweeted a lot about it. Go follow.
You should go check that out. Some other results before we real quick.
Let me just say shout out Cristian Paredes as well. The Paraguayan central midfielder has been excellent for the Timbers.
Good draw for San Jose, 0-0. Caps got a draw as well against Philly in Vancouver. So go check those out on the website. Obviously, all the highlights, all the coverage, NLSsoccer.com. Your mail starts now.
Hang on one second.
Forgot the trash bag of swags.
I know. Also, the New York Red Bulls won their first game in 6.
Ooh, shout out to Connor Lade.
Yeah.
Goal of the weekend for Connor Lade. 160 points for LA football column Matt Martell.
I don't have a bag to pull out
We'll go pulling Thursday, Matt. Just tune in, man. We got it. We got you.
So we had a few people email us about the SKC New England game, but this one I thought was great. And it literally said, Dear Diary, I see the look on Matt Doyle's face right now, that silly Yukon grin as the Revs take SKC to church. I'm upset about the game, but imagining his column on quote-unquote SKC tailspin or death spiral fuels my rage.
Ooh.
Whoever this is.
SKC is more of a nosedive right now.
Got it. So there's someone out there who's upset about their team, but happy about you smoking their team.
Right.
So nosedive is when things start going bad.
Gotcha. They are good, and then they go bad.
And tailspin is when they go from bad to like, oh, we got serious, maybe terminal problems here. And death spiral is
probably terminal. I mean, a tailspin. Come on,
it was maybe terminal, right?
Okay.
And then.
Peter Vermees of all pilots could probably pull out of a tailspin.
Right. And I don't think they're in a tailspin yet. I think the Revs are probably in a tailspin. Death spiral is like, there's just no pulling out of this.
Got it.
You're the 2018 Quakes.
This is why the Doyle fan mail is so robust.
Yeah, you're Jorah. That's the death spiral.
Nice. Go talk to your buddy Kevin in Seattle.
Everybody. He's probably in there. He's probably in the mailbag somewhere.
Johnny from the 6 here helping us shout out. Congratulations. What he wants to know, what do we think of the first Canadian Premier League game? And Ryan Telfair, TFC loanee, scored the first ever goal, Canadian Premier League history, for the York Nine, representing all 9 regions of York. Don't know where that is, against the Hamilton Forge. It was a 1-1 game. Emery Welshman, FC Cincinnati loanee, set up the second goal.
Former Toronto FC draft pick as well. Mine's not necessarily about the game itself, because there'll be many more of these games. The Canadian Premier League's obviously not going anywhere. It's more about hearing from all the people that I know that have worked for so long in Canada, whether I can't go into everybody here, but all the people out there
It's going to be great for
that
Canadian
did this,
soccer. Yeah.
that made it happen, that did the work 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, a year ago, 6 months ago. Congratulations. This is extremely difficult stuff.
Also, if you check out Pacific, played Halifax, Pacific out near Vancouver, that stadium looks epic. It's like...
It's on the Victoria Island.
I couldn't remember the name of the
Vancouver Island, and the town is Victoria.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
The city. But yeah, it's just like...
That's not the city.
It felt like it was like 5,000 people. There's like forest all around it. And it's like, if you told me all the places that, like all those names, and said, what does a soccer stadium look like? That's how I
You
imagine
literally
it.
have to fight a grizzly bear on the way to the stadium.
Love that.
Varies.
That sounds like a movement episode. All right. Thanks to Calen Carr. Thanks
Calen's
to
all
Matt
about the
Doyle,
port side.
David Goss. Let us know what you think of this new Monday format, which is basically just us sitting here yakking about the games for
Let's
an
go
hour.
another hour.
We could. We absolutely could. I know Audio Home want the 90 minutes. It's not coming back. Let us know what you think. 401-206-0MLS. Extra time at MLSsoccer.com. Crushing your dreams before we go. We'll see you on Thursday, everybody.